How you get like that? How the whole team go flex like? How the whole phone take a jet like? How the thing go flex like?
How you get like that? How the whole team go flex like that? How you fly a jet like that? How you be on the road when the feds like that? And the feds go hard, so we gotta hit the gas when we see them cars. Now we can't go back, won't see them bars. Locked in the gym, now we them stars. Now we locked.
Hey yo, what up, squad? Welcome back to HOODROK Entertainment, bro. You already know what's up. I'm your boy Rock One. Thanks for tapping in, bro. If this is your first time on my channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, bro. We're the realest, dopest reaction channel on YouTube. Hey, yo. So we're checking out 5 unexplained mysteries that are creepy and need to be solved. Keep sending these random videos in, man. Like I said, we're an entertainment channel, so not just the music, you know what I mean? We're tapping with everything. Sports, comedy, all this kind of stuff. History, geography, you name it, man. Send it in. We get into it. Yo, and I blaze on this side. Today, we ain't smoking no joints. Well, I already had 3 on. I've already uploaded videos where I smoked 3 joints today, bro. So now we're going to hit the bong on this one. So let's get into this, bro. I'm loving these videos. I love the random videos, bro. You know, these kinds of videos here, the mystery stuff and all of that. Yeah, man, I get right into it. So, yo, let's get into this, bro. Hit the notification button, tap that like button, subscribe, bro. Click up, squad up, tapping with the realest, illest, dopest, and most active reaction channel on YouTube. Hands down. Let's do it.
There is no shortage of creepy, unexplained mysteries that need to be solved. With modern technology, we can only hope for an overlooked clue that brings cases to a close, but for the most part, it seems these cases cannot be explained. Number 5. The Lady of the Dunes is one of the most disturbing and creepy mysteries from Massachusetts history, which has captured the imaginations of true crime enthusiasts around the world. The crime is now more than 40 years old, but neither the victim or the culprit has ever been identified.
Damn.
The story started in 1974 with a young family on a walk along the Race Point Dunes in Provincetown. When one of the dogs they were walking ran off ahead, the daughter followed and made the grisly discovery. A woman's body was found in an isolated area of the dunes. She was lying face down on a towel, her head resting on some folded jeans and a blue bandana. There was no mistaking this
Her head resting on some folded jeans.
woman as someone just relaxing in the sand, however.
You know what I mean?
She had a gruesome wound to her head, which is believed to have caused her to pass away. There were also other cuts to her throat, and her hands had been severed, presumably to stop the body from being identified. It was estimated she'd been there anywhere from 10 days to 3 weeks. Police would spend weeks combing through the dunes, looking for any scrap of evidence that could help identify the woman or who had done this to her. But there was nothing. Even going through the records of everyone who had legally taken a buggy out onto the dunes turned up no leads. Due to the nature of the remains, only sketches and reconstructions of what the woman may have looked like in life were ever released. Even then, any descriptions of the woman were fairly general. She was white with reddish blonde hair. She was between 20 and 40 years old. She was 5'6" and about 145 pounds. She was also wearing pink nail polish on her toes. The most notable aspect of the woman's appearance was her dental work. She had some missing teeth, though it's not clear if these were recent removals or something that was completely unrelated to her tragic fate. She had what—
Yo, there's some creeps out there, man. Who the hell would do that to someone and they like lay them out, fold the jeans up, place them out? Like, you know what I mean? Come on, you gotta be some kind of weirdo,
investigators called pricey New York-style dental work and several gold crowns. But this didn't help identify the victim. The Lady of the Dunes, as she came to be known, was eventually buried with a headstone marking her as unidentified. Over the years, she would be exhumed twice in the hopes of extracting more information. On one occasion, her DNA was tested against the mother of Rory Jean Kissinger, a missing woman who'd broken out of prison not long before the body was found. But it wasn't a match. The case gained more attention when author Joe Hill claimed he had spotted her in the background of a scene in the film Jaws.
Alright. Alright. Apologies for my camera, bro.
Which was filmed nearby shortly before the crime took place. A woman wearing a similar bandana and jeans was spotted as a background extra. However, others pointed out that this wasn't exactly an uncommon outfit for women to wear at the time. And even if it was the Lady of the Dunes, the filmmakers kept no records of their extras. Given investigators believe she knew the person who took her life,
shit.
It's unlikely we'll identify the criminal before we identify the...
So, she might have had sex with someone, bro, and then laid down and had her eyes closed when he hit her over the head with something, right? So he may not have placed her like that. You get what I'm saying? But, bro, that's some weirdo shit, man, for real. Taking anyone's life in a manner like that. An innocent person, you know what I mean? Look, I'm not going to get it twisted, bro. I spent 17 years in prison. The first time I ever got sent to prison was for taking someone's life. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get it twisted, but it wasn't an innocent person, like, you know, it wasn't like that. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't murder them like that. Like, damn.
The Lady of the Dunes.
That's on something else,
That
bro.
doesn't
you know what
mean
I mean?
there haven't been any suggestions, including James Whitey Bulger, a mobster who was known to have removed the teeth from a female victim in the past, and whose gang had committed similar crimes. However, he was never identified as a suspect. Another convicted criminal, Haddon Clark,
Now, this
later
dude-
confessed to being responsible.
Now, look, bro, I don't judge no one by their looks, but if there was a look, that dude looked like a killer. You know what I mean? Damn. Like, I took someone's life. It was accidental, bro. I didn't mean to kill them. They weren't meant to die. You know what I mean? It wasn't meant to happen like that.
For the heinous act, but his confession was suspect due to his mental condition, and there was never any evidence connecting him to the crime. In 1987, a Canadian woman told authorities that her father had taken the life.
So if let's just stop there for a second. So if someone with mental issues actually did kill somebody, but they were so good at cleaning up their evidence, they could actually get away with it even if they confessed. You know what I mean? If after that, let's just say like they cleaned up the evidence really good, you know, at the time of the murder they were in the mental state, they actually cleaned up the evidence really good, and let's just say they come out of that mental state, say like 3 weeks later, and then they go and confess, they still can't get done for it. That's crazy. So the punishment is really, you're gonna have to live with that. Damn.
Life of a woman while on
Think
a
about
trip
that
to
for a minute.
Massachusetts, but she vanished before local authorities could question her further. Detectives now hope developments with genetic genealogy will someday at least give the Lady of the Dunes back her name,
And
even if
identity,
they can't
yeah.
figure out who did this to her. Number 4. In 2001, an 86-year-old man walked away from a resort in Costa Rica and has not been seen since. Leo Whitaker was a self-confessed workaholic who had only
You in Costa Rica, bro. Yo, I ain't gonna say no more.
retired from working on a farm a few
Costa
years
Rica's a
before
beautiful
he
country,
disappeared. He didn't
but
like to be idle, and
you don't
since
wanna-
his
you know what I mean?
retirement, he
You don't wanna
and
get
his
playing
wife
around
of
over there.
55 years had spent their time volunteering with a church group. The group would go to different countries to build and paint churches and schools in the local community. Volunteers would have to pay their own way, but it was a way for the Whitakers to see the world and for Leo to still be busy in his retirement. The couple had been on 41 of these projects, including Leo's final trip to Costa Rica in November of 2001. Leo would spend most of these trips bricklaying, but on the trip to Costa Rica, the volunteer group were instead painting newly built churches and schools. On November 18th, 5 days into the trip, the group stopped off at a hot springs resort. They had just finished their work in a suburb of San Jose, and were getting ready to travel to the northern part of the country when they took a break. Leo's wife, Virginia, decided to take a dip in the hot springs while Leo waited on a bench on the side of the road about 20 feet away. Virginia spent about 25 minutes in the hot springs before going back to where Leo had been sitting. He was nowhere to be seen. Virginia went back to the resort, where employees claimed to have seen Leo about 15 minutes earlier. He was asking about Virginia, apparently having either forgotten where she was or thinking she had gone back to the resort. He then asked guards at the gate if he could leave. They didn't have a problem with this and figured he was going to one of the other hot springs in the area. When they realized Leo was missing, members of the volunteer group went out in a car along the road Leo had walked down.
Damn. What the hell? Yo,
Given his
trippy.
age and the difficult weather conditions, they figured he could only have walked for a couple of miles, but there was no sign of him. The road was bordered on one side by a fence, but on the other was a drop into the jungle. Leo's family feared he might have fallen asleep on the bench and woken up confused before wandering into the jungle. There's no mention that he had any kind of dementia, but it's possible something like this had happened before. Locals familiar with the area searched for Leo in the jungle, but there was no sign of him. Members of his family and friends remain in Costa Rica, still trying to...
Now, if anyone's gonna find you in the jungle, bro, it's the locals, bro. You know what I mean? To them, that ain't the jungle. That's the backyard. To the locals, that ain't the jungle. That's the backyard, bro. When you tell the kids to get outside and play, that's where the kids went out and played. Now they're 40 years old. They're walking around the backyard trying to find I was gonna say your ass, but yo, they're in the backyard trying to find you. Now, if they don't find you, you're not there to be found. You know what I mean?
to figure out what happened to him. Number 3. It was the summer of 1993 when Justin Bergwinkle went AWOL. Justin had joined the army 3 years earlier. He had once aimed to be part of the elite Rangers regiment, and he had taken to learning Korean in preparation. That process was halted after he was caught shoplifting though, and it seems he spent the rest of his service working as a line cook. But there may have been more to Justin's service than meets the eye. While stationed at Fort Ord in California in 1992, he met Yolanda Antunes, a student who would become his long-term girlfriend. Not long after they had started dating though, he began acting strangely. He would come visit her when he had weekend leave, but sometimes mid-conversation, he would suddenly look at his watch and say he had to get back to base. He told her it would be better for her to not know what he was involved in, which only made her suspicious that he was living a double life. In early 1993, he moved to Fort Lewis in Washington. The separation from Yolanda apparently broke his heart, but he promised to come back and see her when he could. It was months before he would get to leave, but he did as promised and drove down to see her. Yolanda noticed that he was acting even stranger now. He brought with him a briefcase that he was very secretive over. At one point, Yolanda saw him shredding papers from inside the case. Another time, she walked in on him, sat in her living room floor, crying. When she asked him to tell her what was going on, he said it was nothing and they should go out for dinner. They had a strange conversation around this time. Justin showed Yolanda his dog tags and asked if she knew what they were. He told her they were used to identify a soldier's body if they passed away in the field. And
What the hell's going on with this dude, bro? See, now this is what happens when you're too secretive. Now, now I get it, bro. Some things you can't talk about, right? I lived the street life and the gang life for many years. You know what I mean? Thankfully, I ain't gang banging no more. It's been 6 years since I gave that life up and all of that. And, yo, I'm telling you, there are some things that you just can't talk about, bro. You just can't do it. No matter how much you want to. There might have been times where you wanted to say something to, your girl or whatever, but you just, what I mean? It's the way it is, bro.
And if she ever saw them lying about without him, she could assume he was no longer alive. It was a conversation she wouldn't think much of until later. One evening, when Justin was out with friends, Yolanda received a strange phone call. The person on the other end of the line just said the mission's off. When Yolanda asked who this was and what they meant, they simply asked her to pass the message on to Justin. Justin freaked out when he got the message. A few days later, he would start the drive back to Fort Lewis. On the way, he bought 2 weapons and ammunition for them, then turned and drove back to Yolanda. On June 7th, he was reported AWOL, just 3 days after he'd failed to return back to work in Washington. Justin's parents eventually convinced—
So hold on, the mission's over. She gets the call, the mission's over. Hang on a minute, hold on, just run that back.
2 weapons and ammunition for them. They simply asked her to pass the message on to Justin. Justin freaked out when he got the message. A few days later, he would start the drive back to Fort Lewis. On the way, he bought 2 weapons and ammunition for them, then turned and drove back to Yolanda. On June 7th, he was reported AWOL, just 3 days after he'd failed to return back to work in Washington. Justin's parents eventually convinced him to phone the base, and he told them he was taking care of some things and he would return as soon as possible. He told Yolanda and his parents that he wasn't AWOL, but he was on a mission. He wouldn't tell Yolanda what the mission was, but instructed her to watch the movie White Sands, a film about smuggling, the CIA, and the FBI if she wanted any more information. At 10 a.m. on June 12th, Justin left Yolanda's apartment. It was the last time he would be seen. 3 months later, his car was found at a beachfront motel near Monterey, where he had originally been stationed. The motel said he never booked a room with them and couldn't give any information about when the car had arrived. Inside the car was now an empty briefcase, Justin's IDs, credit cards, and his dog tags. He had taken the recently purchased weapons and ammunition and apparently disappeared into thin air.
He's gone, bro. He's gone, bro. Jason Bourne type dude, bro. Jason Bourne type thing. You know what I mean? That 3 years in the army, fake file type thing. You know what I mean? Dude actually a CIA operative with a 3-year little army thing, just as a, you know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. I'm playing. I don't know, bro. I'm playing, but you get where I'm going with that, right? You get where I'm going with that, right? Like, he just up and disappeared, bro. Jason Bourne type thing, bro. He's out there somewhere. Chilling. Bro.
No answers surrounding Justin's story have ever been found. It's possible he was suffering some kind of mental breakdown and wasn't really on any kind of secret mission. Although if that's the case, who the person on the other end of the phone was has never been explained. Alternatively, he really could have been working for the CIA and disappeared as part of the job. Number 2.
Jason Bourne type thing, that's exactly what I thought, bro.
Has never been explained.
She might not even know the real whoever he is, bro. That's why the ID's left behind, because that identity's gone now. On to the next one. You get what I'm saying? Like, that might not have actually been his life to begin with. Do you get what I mean? Like, there's undercover, then there's deep cover, then there's deep cover. You get what I'm saying? You get
it's the case. Who the person on the other end of the phone was has never been explained. Alternatively, He really could have been working for the CIA and disappeared as part of the job.
Could have been. You can't say no. You can't say.
In June of 1980, Trevor Parker walked into his father's coal yard in England and made a strange discovery. Lying on top of a 10-foot pile of coal was a man wearing a three-piece suit. The shirt was missing, the suit and shoes had been fastened strangely, and the man was no longer alive. A look of horror was etched onto his face. This was Sigmund.
And the man was no longer alive, yeah, obviously, bro.
A look of horror was etched onto his face. This was Sigmund Adamski, an ordinary man who had gone missing 5 days ago. What happened to him at that time is a baffling mystery that remains unsolved. Sigmund was a 56-year-old miner at the Loft House colliery. He lived with his wife in a town about 20 miles from where his body had been found. On June 6th, at about 3:30 p.m., he left his home, telling his wife he was going to a nearby store to buy groceries. He stopped on the way to chat with a neighbor. The whole community was very close-knit. It was the last time that he would be seen alive, though. After discovering the body, Trevor Parker contacted police.
My bad, yo, my bad.
And Constable Alan Godfrey arrived at the scene. He noted how haunting the look on Sigmund's face was.
Damn.
It looked as though he had been scared to death. Despite being missing for 5 days, he only had 1 day's beard growth. His hair had also been messily cut.
How you know you had 1 day's worth of beard growth? Oh, that's some extensive, whatever that is, bro. 1 day's beard growth. Oh my god.
He only had 1 day's beard growth.
Okay, this is
His
saying
hair had also been messily cut. There was no coal on top of his body.
Yo.
Hair had also been messily cut. There was no coal on top of his body, which was lying on his back, and nothing had been displaced. Trevor said the body had not been there when he'd been in the yard a few hours earlier, and Godfrey was certain someone or something had put him there. The exact cause of his passing was unclear. He had some burns on his neck and body, which seemed similar to acid burns. A strange ointment, which was never identified, had been placed on the burns and on the back of his head. The coroner eventually determined that he had passed away due to a heart attack, though noted that it was the strangest case of his career. Who or
I was gonna say something like that. Maybe aliens or something. I don't know, man. I don't know, but that's weird, bro. Whether you believe in aliens or not, besides the point, that's weird. Yo, could have been aliens. Damn. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy, bro.
Though noted that it was the strangest case of his career. Who or what could have done this to Sigmund remains a mystery.
Facts.
Rumors of extraterrestrial abduction arose. This wasn't helped when less than 6 months later, Constable Godfrey had a missing time incident while investigating a case of some missing cattle. Other police officers noted lights in the sky, and he later filed a UFO report. Under hypnosis, he recounted being taken aboard an alien's ship and examined by non-human beings, though he would later say that was probably just a dream. He was forced to retire not long after the incident. Many are not convinced Sigmund was abducted by aliens, but there are not many plausible explanations either. Some have suggested an argument with a family member who was living with him at the time, but other details of the case don't add up. The KGB...
What is the argument with what's an argument with a relative got to do with anything? You know what I mean? No, come on, bro. Ain't got nothing to do with
time, but other details of the case don't add up. The KGB has also been blamed, though what they would want with a Yorkshire miner is never specified. Number 1. On Easter Sunday, 1967, Jim Thompson went on a walk while on holiday in the Cameron Highlands and never returned. Jim was an American.
That's not a walk. Yo, I don't mean to laugh. It ain't funny. Because that's someone's grandfather, you know what I mean, or whatever. But if you go on a walk and never come back, that's not a walk. I don't know what that's called, but that's not a walk.
Who had been living in Thailand since World War II. He had originally trained as an architect, but when that didn't work out, he joined the army. He worked as
I call that a wander. He went wandering. Right? He went wandering.
an officer at the Office of Strategic Services, or the OSS, a precursor to the CIA. After winning numerous medals for his work in the European theater, he was relocated to Thailand. But after the war, Jim began to disagree with American foreign policy, and with the return of European colonial powers to the region. He did not join the CIA when it was set up, and instead became a successful businessman. He became known as the Thai Silk King, as he reinvigorated the country's silk market. After an investment of just a few $100s, he would eventually make hundreds of thousands of dollars. He invested heavily in art and designed a building that combined local architectural styles with his own twist. At one point, he was going to donate it all to the Siam Society after he passed away. But an argument about whether some of the artifacts were in fact stolen caused him to change his will shortly before the ill-fated trip to Malaysia in 1967. The morning of March 26, 1967 was completely ordinary. He was staying with friends, Dr. and Mrs. Ling, at the Moonlight Cottage.
That's a dope picture. Look at that. Damn, that's fun.
He was staying with friends, Dr. and Mrs. Ling, at the Moonlight Cottage in the Highlands. They went to church in the morning, then went back to the cottage to rest. But Jim was an adventurous man. Just the day before, he and Dr. Ling had set off for a 30-minute walk to a golf course, only to get turned around and lost. It took them 4 hours to reach the golf course. Jim loved the experience. At 3:30 p.m., he left the house for a walk. His hosts didn't see him go, but did hear his footsteps on the gravel. It wasn't uncommon for him to go for a walk around that time, so they didn't worry about it. When he didn't return, however, they contacted police. Jim Thompson was never found. Given his experience in World War II, there were countless conspiracy theories. Some suggested the US took him out due to his opposition to the war in Vietnam. Others have suggested he'd been having an affair with a married woman whose husband took Jim's life. Police contacted criminal organizations in the area who denied any involvement in the disappearance. The most likely answer is that he simply got lost in the jungle and perished due to exposure. But a recent documentary suggests the Malaysian Communist Party was actually responsible. Jim had been asking to meet the chairman of the party, who was most wanted in Malaysia at the time, and the party was suspicious of his motivation. A deathbed confession in the 2010s allegedly claimed a local branch of the party.
Now that's what I put my money on, bro. That's what I put my money on, bro. These dudes, you know what I mean? Like, come on, because he didn't go into the jungle and get lost and didn't know what to... Come on, bro, he's a veteran. He knows how to survive, bro. He ain't stupid.
Party took him out. However, the party had never been shy about claiming high-profile hits, and it would have been out of character for the group to stay quiet about any involvement in Jim Thompson's disappearance.
Well, that's something else too.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Yo, yeah, thank you.
If you liked this,
thank you for making that, bro. Yo, that's some... All of those cases were weird. All of those cases are trippy. All of those cases I would have no... Bro, the Jason Bourne type thing though, bro, that's a plausible one. You gotta admit, that's a good one, right? That's what I would have thought. I thought it was some Jason Bourne type thing. Anyway, I'm high as hell, bro. I'm high as hell. That's fine. Thanks for tapping in, bro. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget, drop your request in the comment section. Get at me on Instagram, all of that, bro. Until next time, y'all stay safe, stay dangerous, and you know what's up. I'm out. Peace.